How does the Ultrafast Fibre installation process work? When a service order is placed with Ultrafast Fibre, one of our contractors will attempt to contact the customer to confirm the initial scoping visit. The entire connection process will involve 3 visits to the customer's property, and they'll need to be there for 2 of those visits. What happens at the first visit? An Ultrafast Fibre contractor will meet the customer at their property in order to discuss the installation options available to them. They will discuss the location of the 2 main pieces of equipment that we'll need to install during the connection process, one on the inside of the property and one on the outside. The details that we'll sort out with the customer on the day include how the fibre will get from the footpath to the dwelling. It's either overhead or buried underground, but it will usually be the same connection method as the power lines. The location on the outside of the dwelling where the fibre will be connected, known as the external termination point, or ETP. How the internal fibre will be fastened. Whether it's surface mounted onto the walls under plastic capping, in the ceiling, or concealed under the floor. A standard install will usually have the fibre surface mounted under plastic capping. The location inside the dwelling where the fibre will terminate. How and where the central fibre hub, called the Optical Network Terminal, or ONT, will be installed inside the property. When and for how long the customer will need to be home during the subsequent visits. They will be required to sign a pre-installation agreement form and end-user terms. It's worth noting that there may be some physical constraints that will limit the location of the Ultrafast Fibre equipment. About 1 hour should be allowed for this visit. What happens at the second visit? An installation crew will visit the customer's property and install ducting from the footpath to the previously agreed location outside the dwelling. The customer doesn't need to be home for this, as the crew will only be working externally, and the connection method will have already been decided during the scoping visit. For underground installations, our installers will dig up the previously installed Ultrafast Fibre duct at the footpath and then either drill underground towards the dwelling, trench towards the dwelling, or use an existing duct if available. For overhead installations, we'll run a fibre from the nearest fibre access terminal, which is usually on a power pole, to a suitable point on the dwelling. From there, the fibre will run down the outside of the dwelling wall to the external termination point. In some cases, this sounds like it might be a messy business, but the customer can rest assured that we'll do our very best to reinstate the property to the same condition it was in before we arrived. This means we'll even plant grass seed or try colour match concrete if necessary. If a customer thinks that we'll have areas that may be hard to match, we encourage them to advise their retail service provider about this when they order their connection. What happens at the final visit? Our technician will visit the customer's property and install the internal fibre, ONT and any other equipment beyond the ONT to the previously agreed location inside the dwelling. Next, we'll blow fibre into the ducting between the dwelling and the nearest street cabinet to connect it to the network. Finally, the technician will commission the service. This stage usually takes 3 to 4 hours, and once it's complete, the customer is required to sign a post-installation form to confirm that they're happy with the installation. After this, they're ready to start enjoying the awesome benefits of Ultrafast Fibre.